Alright guys, the day I come back from my 3-week trip to Asia, we have a dude exposed for the most prolific amount of art theft in convention sales that I've seen. And he was even a featured guest in some conventions. This is wild, let's strap in. And before we get started, couple of disclaimers, I'm gonna be really quick. 1, ignore my face. I got 4 procedures in Korea, my skin is recovering. 2, if we don't like the hair, or if you like it, let me know in the comment section below. If we don't like it, I'll never do these Mickey Mouse buns again. Number 3, I'm recording a ton of videos today, so if you see other videos where I'm in the same fit, yeah, that's why. Anyways, let's get into this. So this is a massive thread posted on Twitter by Revenant, who goes by the Twitter handle Revenant Art. Revenant writes, "Please help me spread this to bring awareness to an art thief and scammer who is selling traced artwork at conventions. An attendee reported to me that my art was spotted and being sold as prints at a convention. On the left is my version, on the right is theirs." So as we can see here, this is Revenant's artwork. So cute! I really love the dynamic posing here. And then here we have the artwork posted by Instagram user official Tora. And then Revenant writes, "Here you can see them stacked on top of each other with lowered opacity. I'd certainly say it's beyond just inspired and more in the realm of traced. The thief in question is official Tora on Instagram, also known as Christopher Roku Coates or Roku Star." So here is the piece. And okay, again, I will say this is not a one-to-one tracing. We'll look at other examples though. But it is pretty damn close. It is really similar. And a lot of times when it comes to situations like this, where it's not like a one-to-one direct tracing, some people will defend the thief, being like, well, it's not exactly tracing. No, 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 no. Do we have eyes? And this is a screenshot of his Instagram page, where again, you can see that artwork is right there. Revenant continues, "You can see in these images that he is actively selling his edited versions of my pieces as prints at conventions. Images include him at his table where my work is visible." So here we have a photo of Tora or Chris with somebody else who purchased that exact art piece. Again, here it looks like Chris is in Japan, judging by the yen sign, but here on the table, you can see more artwork where again, this is Revenant's heavily inspired slash completely traced piece. And another art piece as well that we will get into. If you do a side by side, you can see the colors are also basically identical. It basically looks like Toro color selected off of Revenant's piece. And you might be like, well, what if that's just the character's colors and they were just color selecting the character's colors? So from my understanding, this is from the Amazing Digital Circus. And as you can see in the coloring of the character in the Amazing Digital Circus, the colors that Revenant chose are slightly modified. They look to be more saturated than the colors that were used in the media piece. Sorry, this is Revenant's piece, right? But it really looks like Tora took the colors too, was like, bloop, I'm gonna take this color, and then used it in his piece. Even the hair color, everything. Moving on, Revenant continues, "Originally, I wanted to solve this amicably, and I wrote a message for him to take these down and stop selling them. I was gonna wait 5 days to give him a chance, but the more I dug, the more egregious the situation started becoming, and I changed my mind. I found at least 7 pieces, including mine, that were stolen and being claimed as his. There are probably more, but these are the ones that were both found and brought to my attention." And these are the DMs between Revenant and Tora, aka Chris, where Revenant says, "Hey there, somebody reported to me that you're selling prints at conventions traced from my Amazing Digital Circus fan art of Pomni. I reviewed it and the piece is substantially similar to my copyrighted work. Enough that an attendee recognized it at your table as my art. While you've made some changes, these alterations aren't transformative. To be clear, while the character is from the Amazing Digital Circus, my fan art's pose, composition, and artistic choices are my original work protected by copyright. Tracing without permission and selling prints for profit violates my copyright and art community ethics. This can harm my own brand as well as my ability to make money from my art as well as yours long term. Somebody contacted me about this, which means people aren't completely unaware. I request that you stop selling these prints, remove them from your inventory, and take down any online posts. I'll send comparisons along with proof of my posting date on October 23rd, 2023 for the piece. Please confirm within 5 days or I may need to take steps like reporting to convention organizers or filing a DMCA takedown. I prefer to resolve this amicably. Thank you." Then Revenant shows some side by side. 5. Asia Ladowska's are on the left, Tora's on the right, and both overlaid together. Apparently this was printed as a commission for somebody. So this is Asia's piece, this is Tora's piece. By the way, I also do want to add just how different the art style is, right? Again, I keep saying this over and over again, and sometimes it gets a little annoying. Artists can experiment with art styles. Artists have multiple art styles. That is completely valid. You also see these tracers having extremely different art styles because they're tracing off of different people. But here are the pieces overlaid. and it's like 1 to 1 for a lot of aspects. A lot of the facial elements, etc., basically 1 to 1. The head's shape, everything. And then here we have Instagram user Miss Witch. And again, don't send hate to any parties involved, but especially not the commissioners, because these people likely had absolutely no idea this guy was tracing and stealing stuff, right? But Miss Witch says, "Oh, thanks, Chris, for the amazing commission and beautiful art." Number 6. KO718 Sonokari, no longer on social media from what I can find. On the left, thief is on the right and overlaid together. Can be seen in print here as well. I love that Chris watermarks his work. Please don't steal. So this is KO's work or K0's work. This is Chris's work. Again, I just really want to point out how basically the colors were also stolen as well. Like, bro didn't even want to look for his own colors, just color dropped. And then this is the work overlaid together. A lot of the aspects are really similar. The legs are basically 1 to 1, and a little small element of the body was changed, but it's relatively identical as well. Here's another screen grab of one of his convention table layouts where you can see that art piece is over here. Another one, Mommy Mog's work on the left, thief on the right, and overlaid together. This was also apparently printed as a commission. So this is Mommy's work, where you can see the Mog watermark is on the piece. Chris just changed the watermark on the face to Holly, but this is essentially heavily referenced. And here it is overlaid. Like, a fair amount of elements are traced. There's only extremely minor changes with like the hair, but literally the eyes, everything traced. And again, do I want to point out again, the color values are extremely similar. And then again, this was a commission for Miss Witch as well, who again likely had absolutely no idea. Tokadara Posita on ArtStation and Instagram's work on the left. Print from the thief can be seen here. And again, I do want to add as well, a huge dub to Revenant. This is an extremely thorough and well-investigated thread. Tokada Raposita and the original art piece. And then this is the trace piece. And more was added, there's like a lower body, but the whole upper body, the upper bust is traced. And somebody purchasing the piece. Again, the person who bought it, very certain they had no idea. Another one, Riel on ArtStation's work. The one legitimately looks like the guy just straight up stole it and started selling it. Here is Riel's piece, and this looks identical. Like, no changes were made. Here we go, Lady G Valentine on the left and the thief's edited version. Can also be seen in print behind him in the picture. So, Lady Valentine's piece. Here, Chris edits it a little bit with like a Lisa Frank-inspired background and a key on the front. And then here in the picture behind him, that piece is visible. Revenant continues, what's interesting is that after I confronted him about this, suddenly he deleted his most recent video on his Insta, which was there for days previously and just happened to be where a lot of recent footage of his booth was. I doubt he'll delete the actual pictures like I asked. That would be an admission of guilt. And this is his Instagram page. Again, we can see the stolen artwork, right? A whole bunch of them right here. 12. He also started editing his pictures to say commission on them, which they didn't say until hours ago. You can even see in the older screenshots above that they don't. And you can see in these below how recently this snake edited the post. Interesting how many he just happened to edit to say this on the day he got called out. Like it's gonna be some kind of good excuse. Quote, nah bro, the commissioner just wanted me to trace the original art. What could I have done? End quote. Here, no exit commission. You're invited, commission. Possessed, commission. Throwing in another 2 cents here, there is an argument and debate where people are like, oh, but like if it's a commission and the commissioner asks you to trace the artwork, then it's okay. I argue, and let me know your opinion in the comments below. I argue that's still not okay, because if somebody comes to you with artwork and says, can you trace this 1 for 1? And you do it, I would argue you don't have very much ethics to yourself. But on a whole separate point, some of these posts that he labeled as commission, he literally sold at conventions. And while some artists do this where like they have it in their TOS where even it's a commission work, if it is like sellable IP, then they do have the right to sell it. That's a whole separate conversation. But he literally still sold it for profit. This piece where you see it says commission, again, thanks to the wonderful proof Revenant provided, you can literally see the artwork being sold on his convention booth, right? Another example of the stolen piece. So the commission argument, which is just him trying to scapegoat blame onto the person who bought the artwork, right? Doesn't even stand because you're trying to profit, like profit more. Weirdly, the ones that apparently were commissions don't say it and weren't edited to say it, which is this piece and this piece, which remember that other Instagram user had posted about it being a commission. He also seems to claim he worked on Has Been Hotel, Amazing Digital Circus, My Hero, etc. Enough so that somebody on Reddit thought he was an artist from the Has Been show itself. I don't know if he's actively telling people he is, or if he's just telling half-truths. Like, as if I started telling people, quote, yeah, I worked on Shantae, end quote, when in reality, I just meant as fan art, and can fall back on that if called out. I can't find anything about him working on it, so I may be wrong. I'd be absolutely astounded if an artist of the level to work productions that mainstream was just blatantly tracing art and reselling it, violating copyright laws. I'm past giving him the benefit of doubt at this point, though. And this is the page from Atlantic Comic Con with his name, Chris Coates, where it, writes Hasbin Hotel, Hell of a Boss. Christopher is an officially commissioned artist and currently main work on Hasbin Hotel. Others work include Hell of a Boss, Amazing Digital Circus, My Hero Academia, DC's Batgirl and Red Sonja, and more. I would say that this is extremely misleading if he did not work on any of these titles because it would lead people to think that he did, and a lot of people who are big fans of these titles want pieces from artists that's actually worked on it, right? My brother is a big Hasbin Hotel fan for one. So, you're like scamming people because essentially you're getting sales that you wouldn't have gotten. And here's somebody posting in Hasbin Hotel writing, I went to a comic book convention and met an artist from the show and bought some art from him. Toro on Insta, which is Chris. He's announced that he's going to be at El Paso Comic Con, so if you have any kind of opinion to share with the event organizers about art thieves, like Chris blatantly selling not just copied but traced work and potentially damaging the reputation of their con, be sure to let them know. This is his post about it. I'd ask not to harass the guy even if he's a slimy piece of shit, but I'm guessing a lot of his work is traced, so if you go to his Instagram and see anything in his portfolio that you recognize, please let the actual artist of the piece know. Thank you for the time. So then Koji Taro writes, my art was stolen too, right and left hands. So this is Koji's work, again, also of the Amazing Digital Circus. But look at the hands and then look at Chris's work. And Revenant says, this seriously blows my mind. I had assumed he just made the hands himself. The guy seriously mashed our two pieces together to make his stolen art. Here's what some commenters had to add. Raven the Lemon says, sad I actually met this guy at a con and have one of his stolen artworks as a poster. Can't use it anymore now that I know it's stolen. And Revenant says, sorry to hear that. You really couldn't have known. And Hyveria adds, tracing art and posting online is already disgusting, but to have the audacity to also sell it is just criminal. Revenant says, yeah, it's legitimately criminal. He's essentially going to these events and cosplaying as an artist, scamming people for money. Devin writes, gosh, he does have a talent, but why is he stealing art from other artists? Like, just create your own original idea. And Revenant says, yeah, that's the sad thing. He can draw. He's just taking the laziest route. And then another user by the name of Alia Link adds, here's art I bought from him at Phoenix Fan Fusion in case any of this art is stolen. I'll post single photos of the posters below as well. Here's a shirt we bought as well in case this art is also stolen. And then Alia adds a photo of a piece, writing, I am searching high and low to find the possible artist for this one because he marked them as only 50 sold. As you can see, 3 out of 50, but I see there were many more. He also told us we should go get Brandon Rogers to sign it since he was at the same con. And Revenant adds, yeah, this one's like the holy grail of his work for trying to find the original. My best guess is it's from an art of a maid that he put Blitzo's face on. And Ayla adds, the Japanese translates to, quote, magical girl Blitzo, end quote, if that helps anyone find it. And then Alia adds this piece and then writes, dug a little, found this. Looks like this drawing of loot that I commissioned from him. And here you can see this is a piece of loot posted on Pinterest, and this is most definitely AI art, by the way. Look at like the bajillion fingers. And Revenant adds, good find. This is AI art he probably found on Pinterest and traced over. I'm sorry this happened to you. It's seriously bullshit how much scamming he was able to do. Conventions need to do a better job vetting their, quote, guest artists, end quote. Ayla says, honestly, we drank with the guy after con too and made friends with him. To think of all the lies he told us just boils my blood. And Revenant says, he seems like a charismatic guy who can lie without any issues at all. Most people are expecting others to be scumbag liars, so don't beat yourself up over it. And Carly Marley says, wow, I saw him just last week at the con he was at WonderCon Anaheim. He told us he was a glitch artist and worked for Glitch. I was amazed and he had an art album on his table. I flipped through them and saw the same ones you posted. However, I remember something off about a question. I asked him what does he work on at Glitch? He said marketing designs, like posters for Glitch. I said, what else did you work on? He said, and then said I work mostly with the marketing team with sketches. My brother wanted to commission from him, but didn't at the time. I told him this right away. However, he had a bubble pin and I bought it and he signed it. I feel hurt that if these accusations are true. Bro, this guy apparently just works for every single big company and title ever. And then Revenant compiled more artists that Chris has stolen from. So number 17, Koji Taru, which again was the piece where they took Koji's hands and then mashed it with Revenant's body and then Chris made his piece with it, right? Then 18, mysteriously he deleted the K0 Palmy picture from his Insta, then immediately after either deactivated or deleted his account. So here, this is the Palmy picture, right, from KO, and then it's gone, and now his account is gone. Revenant continues, I certainly wouldn't consider the situation over. Just because he has no social media doesn't mean he isn't showing up to cons and selling people stolen art. I don't know what he'll be able to do other than change his name or rely on his own artistic skills. El Paso Comic Con canceled his guest appearance. Please be sure to inform your own local conventions of his activities. He likes to travel. Link them to this thread so they can see how blatant his actions are so that he can't scam any more con attendees ever again. More evidence of him posing with his stolen artwork. As you can see here, 2 stolen pieces, and they were all in the thread as well. And then this is the one from Ayla Link, the Butcher X's art of Verosica. Chris just cropped the watermark out of this one. You can see here, their watermark is on the bottom, and then the watermark is just cropped out, photoshopped out or something. This is like 1-to-1. Another one, art commissioned by Javi Tink Fizz on Fur Affinity from Burmasin. This is the piece. 7 years ago, art commissioned from Bero, BER00. I'm guessing this is their old username, right? Look at the face. That's like the same thing. Another one, this piece is originally by DG Zombie, no longer on social media from what I can find. Another piece that was straight up stolen and peddled as his own. Another art piece, and this is the exact same piece. Again, like, just look how different the art styles are. And again, me saying this, I'm not trying to shame you if you fell for him, the scams, etc., right? I feel like most people who purchase from artists assume that the artist is genuine. We're not out here being like, oh, are you a scammer? You know, maybe they just like to draw in different art styles. And then you find out, guys, actually scamming. All right, but then this rabbit hole goes a little bit deeper. So we have some internet sleuths. So this is Hellbringer on Twitter writing, did some background investigating because my friends is all about this tea. He was mentioned to help with Activision on Guitar Hero, and I think this man also stole somebody's identity. Left is Chris Coates from Activision circa 2000, and right is the thief circa 2017. So this allegedly is the Chris that worked on Activision, and this is our thief Chris in 2017. Our thief is noticeably younger, and our thief also has a face tattoo. So Revenant says, if this is true, this is legitimately insane. And Hellbringer says, here's source of where and when it was stated he worked there. And Phoenix Fan Fusion on their Facebook page writes, at a young age, Christopher Roku Coates funded each project himself through odd jobs, selling candy to his friends, and eventually selling small pieces of artwork at local skateboard shops. Chris developed a keen eye for design and trends, landing his first job at DesignWorks. He then began working with Activision in the late 2000s, working on major titles such as Guitar Hero and Spider-Man. From there, he spent the next decade sharpening his skill as a freelance artist in the comic book convention industry. Come see Christopher Roku Coates and his work at Phoenix Fan Fusion. And Revenant says, I definitely need to see a lot more evidence before coming to any solid conclusions on this. Guitar Hero Live is the only version of the game I can find with a Chris Coates in the credits, and it clearly wasn't the art thief Chris Coates. It's possible they share the same name and he took advantage of it, thinking nobody would look any deeper. Game dev Chris Coates never worked on a Spider-Man game from what I can see though. And Hellbringer says, that is true and same results from my end. Even tried Roku Star and other versions of his alias and names, nothing. But even if it was only a shared name, if he claimed he worked those games and didn't actually, pretty sure that's still a form of identity theft. I don't know, I'm bad at law. And Ayla adds, even states in here that he worked there. Also, hi, I'm the friend who wanted the tea. So here is another little blurb about Christopher, where it reads, over the years, Chris grew as an artist. He entered local contests and showcases, developing a keen eye for design and trends. He then began working with Activision in the late 2000s, working on major titles such as Guitar Hero and Spider-Man. I did a bunch of digging and I personally did not find anything about Chris working at like Activision or anything like that. Again, a lot of his stuff on the internet has been wiped. His Instagram page is now gone, although he does have like a second Instagram page that is completely dead under his Roku Star alias, where he was like selling, you know, beanies and like arm warmers that he made and promoting his Patreon and the sketches there, you know, doing sketches like these. And I found the blog post from 2020 basically promoting his commission services. My cat is off screen. You guys can't see him, but he's right here. But that definitely seems to be the end of it. I will have all of the artists that Chris stole from linked down below. This is some egregious behavior. Oh, you can see his tail. Doo-doo-doo-doo. He stole from so many people and was selling at conventions. I personally, my tinfoil hat conspiracy theory is that he likely either did not work at the companies that he claimed to work at or is greatly kind of overplaying the role that he had, you know? Maybe he was an intern or something, but making it seem like he was a lot more. YouTube wants to see you. Come here. I think he's like trying to eat something he shouldn't be eating.
Hi, baby boy. Oh, who's a big kitty?
But please show love and condolences to all of the artists and Revenant, who is also an artist that Chris stole from, but also for compiling the massive thread. We love that. Hey, look at my baby boy. And scammers like him, they will be back. So anyways, if you like this video, I appreciate it if you like and subscribe. Your girl is back from Asia, so if there were like news, drama pieces that happened, etc., I'm not going to be covering it until now because I was in Asia and I was focusing on having a great vacation. If you are interested in my vacation stuff, I have an alt TikTok and an alt Instagram, that is catleante_IRL that I'm like posting stuff there. But anyways, check me out on Etsy, check me out on Coffee, and I do stream on Twitch 3 days a week, Mondays, Wednesdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. PST. So I hope to catch you guys over there or in another one of my videos. Peace.